from Singapore and around the world. Welcome once again to DealStreetAsia's PEVC Summit 2021. Today, I have a very special guest belonging to one of Southeast Asia's most exciting fintech unicorns to watch, and that is none other than Mr. Rueben Lai, Senior Managing Director and Head of Grab Financial Group. Grab Financial is the financial arm of Grab, which, as we know, inked a merger deal with Altimeter Corp and is on its way to a US public listing at the end of the year. Thank you for joining us, Rueben.
Good to be here. Thank you, Kristie.
So maybe we can just keep with the recent exit news, which was announced not too long ago. And I'm sure you were very deeply involved in the process with Altimeter. I just wanted to find out, how were you positioning GFG vis-a-vis Grab during those discussions, and what brought Altimeter in?
Well, I'll speak about Grab Financial Group. For Altimeter and for many of our investors, that the fintech component of the Grab story is one that's very exciting. They were drawn to a couple of facts. One is that 6 in 10 people in Southeast Asia are either unbanked or underbanked, so tremendous headroom. The other is 9 in 10 people don't have access to credit cards. So again, that speaks volumes about the headroom that we have and the opportunity to serve our customers better. So opportunity is there, but what's also really interesting is this whole ecosystem that a Grab, the Grab platform, is building. And for us, Anthony has also publicly shared that he sees this as a platform that provides economic empowerment for millions of micro entrepreneurs, what we call everyday entrepreneurs on our platform. And Grab Financial Group, with its plethora of services, from payments to lending to wealth and insurance, our plan is to just embed it into this platform and to really serve these customers well. And what we've seen is an increase in terms of engagement level. So they spend more on our platform. We've seen a 2 to 3x increase in terms of retention, and as well as the multiple services that they take on board after coming and using Grab Financial's products. So it is not only an interesting opportunity, but it's also a great way for us to make the Grab platform even more powerful in order to meet our mission.
I think that the likes of the US and plenty of US investors, I'm sure, including Altimeter, would also be looking at a lot of the very successful Chinese fintech apps that we've seen, the likes of Meituan and Financial, and a lot of them have shown that because they have a diversified platform, some of these businesses have become very lucrative. Is that how you see Grab's future, and how long will it take for Southeast Asia to hit the kind of numbers that China is seeing?
Yeah, we're frequently compared to the giants in China. And, of course, on one hand, we're flattered. On the other hand, we are also extremely humbled because we know that in this part of the world, it's different. China is one country. Over here, we've got 10 different countries. In fact, for us at Grab Financial Group, we just focus on the top 6, economies in Southeast Asia. And what we need to do, the reason for the complexity is this fragmentation, where every single jurisdiction, regulator has their own rules, and the infrastructure, if I were to take credit bureaus or payment systems or merchant integrations as example, every single one of these countries has its own bespoke requirements. And the challenge for us then, how do we build something that would be able to meet the needs of our customers and as well as scalable, across Southeast Asia. So, for us, it's quite different. As we look at Southeast Asia, we believe that we need to chart our own path.
Does it mean then that it might take Southeast Asia a much longer time to reach the kind of numbers and trajectory that China was able to exhibit in the last 5-10 years? Just simply on the fact that you mentioned, given the fragmentation, which I think people tend to talk a lot about, Yeah, how much of that do you think needs to be communicated to US investors? Because a lot of them are looking to China, and they may have this expectation that Southeast Asia is just another emerging market, another emerging Asian market, to jump on.
Well, I would also point out to the fact that it did take China a number of years to become so evolved. But what they've shown is that once you upgrade the whole infrastructure, that there's tremendous ability to just add value to customers. For us though, it's hard for me to crystal ball gaze how long it is going to take. But I would point to what we've accomplished in the last year or the last few years. So let me take a step back by maybe just painting how we've approached the market first. Obviously with a huge opportunity but a fragmented market, we had to be very thoughtful about it. So the last 3 to 4 years, our focus was really building infrastructure to serve our stakeholders on the Grab platform. And who are the stakeholders? Our users, our merchant, and our driver partners. So the basic infrastructure for payments, acceptance, dispersals, for micro lending, for micro insurance, and last year we launched micro wealth. We spent a lot of effort just building that out just to serve the Grab platform. And you saw in the recent Q2 results that we hit a record high TPV of $2.9 billion. We grew our merchant network by almost 3x in last year alone. Loans, we grew 4 times year on year. Insurance, more than 4 times in terms of GWP, and in terms of transactions, it's more than 130 million since we launched 2 years ago. So great progress, but it's still early stages. What's really exciting now is the next phase. We feel right now that we've really laid out the basic foundation, and we've got a strong base from the Grab platform now in order to springboard to going off the Grab platform. And I would share that 40% of our transactions right now actually come from off the Grab platform. And that's driven by e-commerce, and e-commerce has 2 components. One is payment acceptance, and the other is buy now, pay later. In fact, we just call it BNPX, where X could be a time variable, which is pay now, or pay in X installments. The second we're very focused on is just cross-selling financial services products like micro lending, micro insurance. There a big push is really into merchant cash advance, and it's like driver lending. And then the third focus for us is we realized that we've been very focused on the buyer ecosystem, buyer meaning end consumers. And what we want to do now, in accordance to the Grab way, to be a platform for micro merchants, is to start to build tools for our micro merchants to grow their businesses and to deepen our integrations with them. And that's going to be another huge opportunity for us going forwards.
You mentioned a very interesting stat. So you said 40% of your current transactions on Grab Financial are off the Grab platform. I mean, this is a rise from what previously, and is that your metric of success? Because essentially, if you do want to be a super app for Southeast Asia, you can't afford to just have the entire all of your transactions be hosted within the Grab ecosystem. It needs to be an open platform.
That's exactly how we think about it, Kristie. It feels like you were literally present in our strategy sessions, and that is the truth. We are very focused on building out an open ecosystem, and that was intentional right from day one. How do we bring on board various banking partners, various FI partners to come on board to serve our customers better? We had to focus first to serve our own ecosystem. And now with 40% of our transactions and growing off platform, how are we doing that to grow? The first is, e-commerce, as we know, in this post-pandemic era, has really taken off. And what we want to do is to just embed ourselves into as many e-commerce sites as possible in order to make available our products to our customers. And our products on the consumer side primarily are around BNPX and as well as deliveries. And so the way that we've done it is really partnership. And you would have seen that we've partnered with Stripe, with Adyen, and various third-party acquirers in order to plug into their merchant network and make it available for our merchants to just switch on our products and services so that they can serve their customers well. So that's the way that we really look at it on the buyer side. And then on the seller side, there's so much to be done.
Okay, before we get to the seller side, I was looking at your Grab's investor deck. I believe this was Q2 or Q1 during the time you guys did a deal with Altimeter. And interestingly, most of your transactions right now are still driven by payments. I think based on revenue, like over 90% is still coming from payments alone. I was wondering how far you see this mix, contribution mix kind of diversifying, and what are some of the major hurdles for Grab Financial from, trying to move from, having most of your transactions come from payments to some of these other fintech services that you currently offer, whether it's lending or insurance, what are some of the major hurdles that you need to cross for that?
So it's very intentional for us to start with payments. With the payments product, we had a relationship. There was financial services driven versus ride sharing or food delivery. And with that we got a lot more understanding of what the consumer likes to purchase, when, and how they use the product. Being part of the everyday in and out flow of a customer's journey is super important. And on the back of that, it allowed us then to design products based on the insights that we had. And the first product was really micro lending. And in terms of dispersals, we grew 4x last year alone. And last year we were still grappling. We still are grappling with the pandemic, but last year was really bad. We didn't know what we're dealing with then. And if we were to look at that as a trajectory, I think that the shape of our business is fast evolving. And of course, the other statistics is more than 130 million transactions for insurance that we've sold. And three things, which is in the everyday right of a customer, they can opt in for insurance, right cover. For e-commerce delivery, they can also opt in for micro insurance. We really expect that to really drive on the buyer side, the take up of micro insurance products. And we've seen very encouraging statistics there, even in countries where people told us that it's hard to sell insurance, Vietnam, for example. That's where our delivery cover really took off. And then the third leg for our insurance business is selling to our own ecosystem. So our drivers, if we can provide them with hospitalization cover, for example, in order to protect them, or any coverage that would take care of them for lost income if something bad were to happen to them.
But does it mean that perhaps payments is probably going to remain as the key contributor to Grab Financial's revenue and TPV and transactions, just because Southeast Asia hasn't reached the saturation point when it concerns market penetration for fintech as a whole?
I do agree that our market is extremely nascent. If we just look at e-commerce as a percentage of total retail, for example, it's dramatically growing super fast. Speaking volumes of the headroom, it's hard for me to exactly predict what the shape of it would be, but I would share that our FS business is actually growing really, really quickly.
FS is
Financial services business,
Ah,
like our lending products and insurance products, and so that's growing really quickly as well. We'll see. It's really hard at this point to see how that shape is changing or where it would eventually land up. But we expect things to look different now. Naturally, payments being our first product, it would contribute the bulk of our revenues. We should see that decline over time as various non-payments financial services products start to increase. The other one that's super exciting, most certainly when we start launching next year with this digital bank. So there's so much going on that it's hard to predict where what the shape of our financials will look like.
yeah, now that you've gotten into digital banks, which is exactly what I was going to talk about. I mean, let's just kind of zoom into just Indonesia. I know the media tends to talk a lot about Indonesia. It's a market that nobody can ignore just simply because it's Southeast Asia's largest market. There have been plenty of reports about how, not just yourself, but many other of your competitors, whether it's Shopee, whether it's Gojek or Goto, a lot of them have been eyeing, inorganic expansion into Indonesia. I was wondering if you could kind of paint the landscape for us in terms of how the banking and fintech landscape has been like in Indonesia, and, when it comes to weighing inorganic versus organic routes into a new, not really a new market, but a big market like Indonesia, what makes sense and how are you kind of seeing your approach to enter?
Sure. Indonesia is super exciting for us. We love the people. I personally love the food. And the opportunity to upgrade the financial services infrastructure just opens up so much opportunities to serve the people better and to create value for the country. And not just on the buyer side, but as well as the micro merchants, the seller side of the ecosystem. If we can give them tools to enhance the business and to digitize it, that's extremely exciting. So we look to Indonesia with great interest. And right now we see that we're just getting started. OVO, despite being the most popular e-money wallets online and offline in Indonesia, as we think that it's just scratching the surface. And if there's so many more years left of growth that together with the rest of the ecosystem, like Link Aja, with our partner MTech Group, with all the other bank partners and FI partners like Mandiri, Prudential, that we've worked with over the years, and even Zongan Technologies. We feel that we're just only starting to unlock the opportunities there. So we see a lot of developments there at the same time, but we wanted to be very thoughtful about it. And we're not rushing into anything. People ask us, are we looking actively at M&A opportunities? Are we going to do it organically? No, we'll consider all approaches and what's right primarily for the customer. How do we get products to the hands of a customer in a very customer-centric way that they're used to, that's beautiful, delightful. The second thing is how we work very closely with the regulator in order to make sure that we're compliant and that we follow what the local rules need us to do. Those two are really top of mind as we look at Indonesia.
Yeah, you mentioned about MTech Group, and actually our team wrote a story recently about the growing partnership between Grab and MTech in Indonesia. The both of you have taken minority stakes in each other quite recently. I was wondering if you could kind of shed some light in terms of what the status of the partnership, what do you hope to leverage off MTech, and can you tease any exciting partnerships or developments, whether on a product front or a service front, that we can expect in the coming months?
Thanks for asking, and thanks for the article. I read it. I thought it was a well-written article, and we are so excited about this partnership with MTech. MTech, as you know, is not only a very, very strong media conglomerate, but they've also invested in multiple digital assets like Bukalapak, for example. And for us, what they bring that strengthens our ecosystem is a tremendous access to the end customer. More importantly, a tremendous access to the micro merchants on their platform. And what we want to do is really embed our each other into each other's ecosystems so that we can extract the maximum synergies for us. One example is onboarding the Bukalapak merchants onto GrabMart. As their merchants, I spend a lot of time with merchants, and for them, they care about two things: more demand at the lowest cost. That's exactly what we can offer them. Plugging directly into the Grab platform allows them access to all our customers at a lowest CAC. And not only that, we're going to give them tools like financial services products in order to accelerate the growth of their business. So we're very excited, and we're executing well on that partnership.
Can we expect perhaps more and closer collaboration between yourself and Bukalapak? Is there any interesting collaborations that we can perhaps expect from you guys?
Absolutely. I know most certainly after embedding them onto or onboarding them onto the GrabMart platform, that's step one. And they do have a lot of merchants that we need to onboard. And then subsequently, I think that we can totally expect to see how we're going to embed financial services into the merchant platform that are serving their merchants.
Yeah, there's also an interesting trend that we've been seeing with regards to the opportunity for micro, like small SMEs, especially when it comes to online lending. We've seen a significant boom in South Asia, specifically in India, as well as in Southeast Asia, but not that many companies actually cater to lending for SMEs in this region. I just wanted your thoughts in terms of how big this opportunity is for startups to address SME credit demand. Some people say it's a $1 trillion opportunity that banks can't address.
Yeah, the precise number, I've seen wild estimates, but one thing consistent about all these numbers are they are large. So between large and larger and largest, and which is why I feel that we're just all scratching the surface. If you add all the fintechs together, we're just scratching the surface of it, not even making a dent. And which excites me. It's almost like an infinite amount of growth going forwards. And I would just call out what we've been very focused on. Let me shout about Thailand. That's where for merchant cash advance, in order to support their working capital requirements, has really done really well for us. In fact, across the Grab financial platform, 49% of our working capital loans have been made available to the small and medium-sized merchants, where they needed it the most, particularly in during these very, very tough times. Sorry, let me correct myself. It's 59%. So during the pandemic, it was very tough. A lot of them needed just working capital loans to just tide over the volatilities, that frequent lockdowns and opening up, that happened, created a lot of stress, with these merchants, and we were able to support them, and in a way that has just brought joy in their lives. And the other thing, not only the merchants, where we see the smile on their faces and gratitude, it really satisfies us a lot, but it also makes the regulators super happy. We've got senior officials within the BOT, for example, saying that, I really thank you for what you've done for our merchants in our country. And I wish that, many more banks and fintechs, would also jump on board this bandwagon to serve our micro merchants well. And we look forward to that. The other thing I would point out as well, we don't do it ourselves. We do it in partnership with the various banks and FIs that we have. For example, in Thailand, we work very closely with Kristie, which is a MUFG partner bank. And together we created loan packages. We designed the credit scoring algorithm together. We embedded into our merchant platform, and we did collections in a very seamless way. And the conversion rates that we've seen from these tight integration that makes it so convenient are pretty stunning. It's numbers that the banks themselves were very shocked that how by creating a simple, nice experience results in a significant uplift.
You also mentioned earlier about BNPL, offerings on the Grab financial platform. BNPL has seen like significant jump in the last 1 year, especially because of COVID. How does Grab kind of like look and assess or even mitigate some of the risk of defaults that may affect some of your merchants as well as users?
Yes, mitigating risk is extremely important, and I will point out, there's fraud risk, there's credit risk, and we are, what we've done in the last couple of years is really building up the tech infrastructure. We realized that at our scale, there's just no way we can do manual processing, and many of these transactions are small, and because of that, the volumes are large. So there's just no chance for a human to manually do that. And so what we've done is in order to serve our customers well, we've used data to customize the loans available to them or the credit limits available to them. We monitor that, and as we see a good track record of repayments, then we upgrade, that limit available to them. So the low and grow approach, we found to be quite effective. The second, of course, using various signals. One very, very strong signal that we've got is Grab transactions. We made available these products first on Grab. It's on a postpaid basis. You can take as many rides and food as you want during a month, and you just pay it back at the end of that monthly cycle. And with that, we're able to understand who are the good paymasters, and from that, then we move them off platform into the various e-commerce sites, and we see their behavior there, and then again taking that same low and grow approach. That's on a consumer side and using repayment, but it gets more sophisticated than that. We may even look at how do they interact with us on various products, how do they interact with us on various merchants, and using a very clear algorithm that we optimize scoring for these customers. What's important though that we find is not only managing our risk, it's also managing the risk for our consumers. What do we mean by that? A very, very big part on our minds is how do we make sure that we don't drive excessive consumptive behavior. People buying stuff that they don't need, and it inevitably is just overstretching themselves. That's an area that we are working very closely with the regulator on to provide and educate our customers on being responsible in the way that they spend. And we find that that's the only way. Once people take ownership of it, that's the only way that can help them. Maybe on that note, the third point I just wanted to make is also, let's recall that 9 out of 10 people in Southeast Asia don't have access to credit cards. What are their alternatives? It's the gray market, the money lenders. That is the market we're trying to disrupt, so that people have access to more affordable means in order to stretch their dollars.
So keeping with what you mentioned about, say, credit risk, I'm kind of going back full circle back to an earlier question that I mentioned with regards to Indonesia and your own M&A strategy into the market. There have been plenty of reports about how a lot of Indonesian banks, have not really kept clean books. Same for a lot of the P2P lenders as well. You know, there are issues on regulatory oversight, corporate governance. How does that kind of influence the way that you look at particular M&A targets when it comes to entering a market like Indonesia?
Well, I don't think we can speak specific to Indonesia, but most certainly, if we were to look at any target, we would do what a normal acquirer would do, and performing proper diligence, hiring advisors, and just getting into the weeds of deep analytics to figure out the books. But we don't have a specific details to just share about this piece.
Okay. Maybe another question again on OVO, like there's supposed to be a divestment process that's supposed to be coming along between Grab and Tokopedia. Are we able to give any updates in terms of where the process is at this point?
Well, it's going well, and what we are very focused on is really on the consumer side, our customers, and as well as our merchants. For us, making sure that there's no disruption is important. So business goes on as usual, and not only that. So OVO remains as a payment acceptance on the Tokopedia platform, and it's doing really well. And in addition to that, we've onboarded many other merchants: Zalora, Lazada, Bineka, of course, Bukalapak, and many more. And so for us, in order to succeed in payments, it needs to be ubiquitous. Otherwise, it's going to be that closed loop ecosystem that's not so useful. And so for us, it's really that big push to just continue on our journey anyway, to get our payment method into as many platforms as possible. And actually, OVO has gone beyond payments. They have launched a very successful micro investment products together with Barexa. We've also worked with Prudential and other insurers to make available micro insurance products on the platform as well, and as well as micro loans. So many exciting developments, and most certainly this the transaction is not holding the business back in any way. We just focus on moving forward.
Another question on a recent partnership that you guys just announced with Coinomo, which is a crypto wallet from Singapore. It was a very interesting announcement to me because I don't think I've ever seen a super app, at least it's not mainstream, at least for many of the super apps that I've seen to kind of ink any kind of partnership with a crypto company. I was wondering if you could share some of your observations with regards to cryptocurrency, where a player like Grab can potentially participate in crypto, because crypto has really seen significant adoption in Southeast Asia and many emerging markets around the world.
So crypto is super exciting. And have you bought any yourself?
I actually have several wallets.
Oh my gosh!
I have, yeah. I'm not going to get into details, but I did dabble a little bit, not seriously, but it's interesting to watch because I feel like we are entering a season where some of the fintech players are and the two worlds of crypto and fintech are beginning to collide. Like in the past, it was kind of like two separate worlds, and I'm beginning to see early stages of some coalescing the two. And I'd love to be able to hear what you think about the opportunity that crypto brings for a player like yourself.
It's fascinating. I as a player in fintech, we just cannot ignore what's happening in that space, because I think that the philosophy, the builds, is just very interesting. It's so elegant. The technologies behind it. So that's what on a personal note excites me about. For us, we've actually partnered with CoinHako, and as well as a Transcript. So our perspective to these partnerships is that we'll work with those partners that are recognized by the regulator, and that have adequate KYC, know your customer processes in place. And that is the way that we want to, in a very measured and thoughtful way, make sure that we only bring on board those that are recognized by our regulator. And the partnerships right now is about providing payment acceptance onto their platforms.
Okay, so do you foresee yourself, partnering with more crypto wallets in the region so that some of your users, especially, I think in terms of adoption, I think Vietnam is probably number one. Philippines has also seen significant adoption. Could that be kind of the next steps for you guys in terms of the crypto front, or are you kind of still cautiously exploring that?
It's interesting. We do see and hear from our users across Southeast Asia on their interest in crypto, but we will take a very measured and cautious approach to it. As much as crypto is exciting, there are also a lot of areas within crypto that are still being studied very carefully by the regulators. And likewise, we want to be extremely responsible and not allow the excitement to get to our heads. So our approach first and foremost is definitely to just only work with those players that are recognized by the regulators.
Okay, I think we have time for just one last question.
Sure.
Just to kind of wrap things up, what is the long-term plan for GFG? Is it to eventually be a standalone financial powerhouse of its own right, or because right now GFG still continues to depend very heavily on Grab's super app?
Our long-term plan is I won't be commenting about the company structure. That will be a question for Anthony and Ming perhaps. But for me, as a business builder, what I really want is to be able to bring in financial services to that emerging middle economy all across Southeast Asia. And if I can unlock that and to just give them access to these products that have been typically focused on the top 10 to 15% of the population, I think that would be extremely satisfying. And it would really meet the mission of the Grab Way, which is to provide economic empowerment to millions and millions of everyday entrepreneurs all across the region. And with that, we truly believe that it would also uplift the economies of Southeast Asia. So that is the end state that we hope to achieve. How we're going to do it, the way that I look at it is what we've done over the last couple of years is to build basic banking services, or rather basic financial services using payments, lending, insurance, and wealth licenses that we've acquired across Southeast Asia. And these are basic financial services. And for many of our users, those are great. But for those that really want a full suite of products to serve them across their entire lifetime, then they can upgrade to digital bank products. So you see this is a continuum, basic and then pro. And with that, they are able to access all these products in that same transparent, seamless, and accessible way through microtransactions that they're familiar with the Grab platform. And with that, hopefully we'll be able to make a dent in Southeast Asia and to serve our customers better.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Rueben. I think we've come to the end of today's session. Thank you all for joining us, and I hope to see all of you again soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.